Ooh. Okay, this is my first time doing this. And today we're doing an OnlyFans with one of my. And in case you don't know, I'm the social media and content head here at What She Said. Um, and we're going to do a live with Ilse, who is a two-time entrepreneur. She has a lifestyle boutique and she also has a marketing agency, which we'll dive into and talk a lot about. But wow, everyone's joining. Okay, we're getting Ilse in here. Bear with me, we're getting Ilse in here. Oh, there she is.
Hi.
Hi, Ilse. Oh my gosh, it's so good to
How?
see you.
I know. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm just so excited to talk to you today. You look gorgeous as usual.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so excited to connect with you too. It's been a while since I've done an Instagram live or talked to someone through Instagram, so I think it's kind of refreshing too.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually, fun fact, this is my first time doing Instagram Live, but I mean, we go back. Ilse has been on my previous former podcast.
Hmm.
We've worked together, we've collaborated together. So there's just so much history here,
Yes.
and I'm like excited to wrap it with another bow in 2024 and just continue growing our relationship. But
Yes.
how's your day today?
Good. I had a class today. So, one of the things that I offer is social media classes.
Mm,
So, today I was at a real estate office teaching real estate agents about social media. So, that's why I'm all ready.
that's why she's done. She's
Yeah.
a cutie.
So, that's really been the main thing and just a lot of admin work. You know how it is. It's like, that's kind of like one of the things whenever you run a business, it's like you don't just get to do all the fun, cool stuff. You also have to do all of the not so fun stuff, but stuff that's necessary. And so you allocating the time for that too is like huge. So yeah.
You talk a lot about in personal conversations and also just online. You share a lot about the truths about being an entrepreneur. I would
Yeah.
love for you to kind of take us back and paint the picture of how you even knew in your bones that that's what you're meant to be doing. Because I feel like you knew pretty early on.
Yes. So for a lot of people that don't know, I started in TV and that was a corporate job that I had right actually throughout college and right after I graduated college. Um, I think, when people go into, when you have an idea of like, for example, being self-employed and having a business, I felt like I knew I wanted to do this when I had someone ask me for my services without me having even launching a business. And so someone approaching me and asking me, hey, because whenever I started my marketing business, I started with a lot of social media management clients. And so my very, very first client, it was someone that approached me and looked at what I was already doing on my own for fun in my pages, like being active on social media, creating content, etc. And then just asking me like, have you ever thought about doing that for someone? And so the fact that I did not even have a business, I did not have this in mind at all, and someone was asking me for a service that I had not launched, I think was very telling of the potential that I had there. And it was kind of one of those moments that you're like, man, if I don't take this opportunity right now, I don't know what more signs I need when the fact that like literally a client is presenting itself. And anybody that knows whenever they're starting any project, trying to get clients and customers, um, it takes time, it takes months. And so to be in a position where there was already the demand there, it was very motivating and inspiring that maybe this is it. This is the opportunity for me to go for it. And if I sit down and if I have this one client, what could my future look like if I take on more clients myself as well too? And but obviously you go into it kind of like delulu of thinking, oh, it's just doing all the fun stuff, creative stuff, having clients. So I think then later on you realize there's a lot of more other work that you also have to do behind the scenes to maintain that, but you adjust as needed. And I think over time you also realize, okay, maybe there are specific things that I'm really good at, and maybe I should outsource some things that I'm not so good at to make this a sustainable business as well too. So that, to me, I don't think there's a lot of people that can say that. And I feel really blessed that I was in the position where I literally quit my job already having a client lined up.
Yeah.
And if there was one, I feel like, okay, if I work hard, I think I can get more.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so what, now you're 6 years in as an entrepreneur?
This is my 5th year.
5th year.
Yes.
Okay. But also, I was telling the audience too that you started with your marketing business, which is so impressive. I know you're a content creator at heart, and you have your menu of services there. But then also recently, your latest venture was a lifestyle boutique. How did that idea even come about? Like, what made you say this is my next step?
So it was actually a year, and I was about to turn a year whenever I was about to be a year with my marketing business, and I already had this idea that I wanted to sell products. The thing is that the majority of my clients sell products. I have very few that are service based, but the majority have boutiques and have products. So I was already surrounded by that since the moment, literally like my very first clients, there were, businesses that sold products. So I was around that this whole time. However, during that, and whenever I was doing these photo shoots for these products, etc., like I thought to myself, what about if I had my own product? Like, how would I do this? How would I do this product launch? How would I take the photos? How would I do the marketing? And it was something that literally I turned 1 year and I was about to do, then the pandemic happened. So I put that dream on hold, and it just did not seem right because of the timing of the world. And then after that, it's whenever I decided, after the pandemic, it's whenever I actually thought there was more of a demand where people were needing more guidance and help, especially after the pandemic, that a lot of people did huge shifts in their life personally and professionally with their careers. And then that's whenever I decided to launch my personal brand with doing a lot of consulting work and, social media. And then after that, whenever I felt like, okay, now I feel like this is the time that I could do it. And so last year is whenever I decided, let me jump back into this idea. And honestly, the biggest inspiration from this is the fact that I would meet a lot of small businesses. I would travel around the world. I would meet makers. I would buy stuff myself. And I would meet people that were makers, that were talented and that did the products. But a lot of the times they didn't know how to market it, and they didn't know how to put it out to an audience. And so it was, in my eyes, it was kind of just one of those moments where I felt like, well, what if I'm not only meant to market it, but also put it out to the masses? And if I have an audience and I have people that are already buying from me, why, or like trusting me also in purchases, what if I can be kind of like that gap? Like I can bridge that gap between the makers and the audience and the communities and bring these products to people. And that was honestly the biggest motivation. I met a lot of talented people, and it really broke my heart knowing that either one, they didn't know how to get it out to people, or two, they also didn't want to do it. They just wanted to be makers. They didn't want to be marketing it. And that's something that you do have to identify whenever you go into an idea and a project, is you need to understand your role. You need to understand what you're good at, and that you don't have to do it all, that there's maybe a specific calling that you may have. And that's what I really tapped into right there.
I love that. It sounds like you knew exactly, like you said, you bridged that gap. You've been doing, you're running your own business, so you just kind of needed to bring in a little sprinkle of products. Well, and I'm sure you've learned so much too, being now on the other side of not just being a service provider, but being a product provider. Like, was that like the most crazy transition? I'm assuming it was no easy thing for you.
No, I commend so much businesses that sell products. It is hard. Like whenever you're service based, I always tell my clients, because I have a lot of clients that they have services, and then obviously the next step is like, I want to do retail, I want to bring in products. That usually seems like the next step, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's also a huge risk. Whenever you're offering a service, it's something people are paying you for, your experience, for your knowledge, for your creativity, for everything that's in your mind, right? And everything that you know. whenever it's a product, it's so different because you take the gamble of you don't know if people are going to like this or not. And how much do you buy of it? And also looking at what are the risks and, what are your profit margins and all of these things. So it honestly was one of the hardest things that I did. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it was a lot harder even starting a business. I think starting Connect was a little bit easier than doing this because there's so much that goes into it, not only in the creativity side of it and the marketing side of it, but the investment and the administrative as well too, because now you're talking shipping, boxes and, marketing materials. And then if you want to go do markets, you got to go invest in a table and a tent and this. So, but it's also very, very rewarding. And I think for me lately, because I've been doing a lot of markets and events, I had really missed that, like connecting with people. I'm such a people's person, and I just thrive off of like talking to people. And I sometimes would not get that a lot with my other businesses because sometimes I would meet with clients virtually, or sometimes I just shoot the content myself. So it's been very, very refreshing just connecting with people and just seeing, at least specifically because I live in Houston, the love that communities have for small businesses. It's so refreshing. Like it really, really is. I look in the room and I'm like, wow, we're all really in here like pursuing a dream, an idea that we just had one day randomly. That's so cool to think about.
Oh yeah, and I can so relate to you on. I'm also a digital services provider, so everything that I do is just in this little corner of my room, on a screen, on a
Yep.
keyboard. And I think I've already said like my next venture has to involve some people interaction because yeah, I can understand the power of community. Right now, I've been mastering digital community, which I do
Mm-hmm.
want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Like you you harnessed and have built this community in Houston through your agency, and you then also like brought them with you along this journey to Trece. Like,
Yeah.
how did you expect that? Did you know that was going to happen for you? I'm just curious to see how that transition was for the community itself too, because they witnessed it and like saw every step that you were taking.
Well, one of the biggest things that I always emphasize with a lot of my clients whenever they're venturing into new projects, the biggest thing that I say is you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing next, people are going to say, oh, that makes sense. What you don't want is to be launching and doing things and then for people to be like, that seems not on brand for her, or that seems odd. Like, I don't, that's kind of weird, which tends to happen a lot with, even nowadays, the conversations with a lot of celebrities and people starting brands and products, that a lot of the times things just don't make sense with what people are doing. And so to me, I just made sure that everything that I was going to do next, it was something that I had put a lot of thought and intention, and that things just made sense. Like the next thing that I was doing, it's like, oh, well, of course you're going to, launch your own boutique because you've already been sharing products, but you've been sharing products from other brands. So why not, share products from your own brand? So I think my audience, it wasn't a complete shock, but it was something that it just made sense, and it was refreshing because I also realized that I had a big community that maybe they don't need my marketing services and maybe they don't need consulting, but there are a lot of people that do want to shop. So to me, I think that's what's been very rewarding. It's just being able to make sure that I'm able to meet my community and my audience on different levels,
Yeah.
and that I'm still able to connect with them, and that I just don't like to feel disconnected from them in the sense that they feel like, oh my God, like, she just talks about social media and marketing, and that just does not make sense for the everyday person that maybe works a corporate job, because they don't need me for that. But I think that for me, it's been very, very rewarding as well too with my community, just knowing that I can meet them on different levels and connect with them in different ways.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure your community too has like stepped up and been like, maybe people you like you said that haven't asked you for marketing services, but they're like, oh yeah, I love
Yeah,
your newest collection, I love your
yeah,
candle, your blankets. Like I've
yeah,
also scrolled through and seen your beautiful products. So how
yeah.
was that? Like, have you also like found that maybe your followers or audience online was following you and like just seeing you in markets? Like for example, me and you, we've never met in person, but I would totally
Yeah,
be if I was in Houston, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go see her at a market. Like that's Ilse. That's my
yeah.
girl.
It's been amazing the fact that and like I told you, I think what's been the most rewarding part about that is I've met so many new people. And And what amazes me, even till this day, like this weekend, I just had a market. And the very first market that I did in February, when I tell you, like, when you meet people and you have these connections with people, and I'm really, really big on that. I mean, I've had girls that now follow me from market to market. Like, they are like, okay, where are you going to be next? Like, oh, I'm going to go and this and that. And obviously, like, I'm promoting it, and there's so many other businesses for them to see. But the loyalty that a lot of people have towards that, I think it's amazing. I mean, I honestly have been like, I've literally left markets like crying because it's just so inspiring to see that, wow, people are really out here supporting ideas that you have, because this is an idea. And it was one of those things, whenever I went into it, I was like, it was something that I knew going into. I was like, I don't need to be doing this. And I always ask myself, why am I doing this? I'm just adding more stuff on my plate. Um, but at the end of the day, it's very fulfilling. And someone like me, I generally don't really have hobbies. I was really, really bad about that, that all I did was just work. And it's weird because my hobby turned into a business, and I tend to do that a lot. And so with Trece, same thing, although it turned into a business, but Trece was kind of like, oh, this is going to be my hobby. This is going to be my creative outlet, because even with Connect, I'm still fulfilling the vision of clients, and that I have to do what their vision is, what their idea is. And so going into Tres, I think it was just a very different feeling, because people are actually buying your vision, like your complete, like you go, I literally curated this piece, and the fact that you're so in love with it, like it's very fulfilling. Um, Although obviously trying not to get into the whole thing about, not seeking so much like validation, but we're humans and we do, and that's just the reality of things. And especially when you have a business and you literally are nothing without your customers and your clients, I think that's something that I look back on. I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. There are strangers that believe in an idea that I had. And that is just so beautiful. And when you get to that point in your business, regardless of what you're offering, if you ever sit down and think about it, these are literal strangers that knew nothing about you and believe in you enough that they want to buy from you and support you or hire you in whatever capacity.
Oh yeah. Do you feel like, and I want to touch on the storytelling piece, because you mentioned like your audience, meeting people at markets, followers, or just your community in general. Do you feel like, you being a social media queen and very vulnerable about the entrepreneurial journey, you do a lot of storytelling online about on Instagram stories or whatever. How integral do you feel like that piece was or is to your journey as an entrepreneur, and like all the moves that you've made?
Super important. I always preface this by saying the fact that my background is journalism, so I'm literally a storyteller by heart. That's literally what I studied, and that's what I did before I started my business. And even in working in TV, that's like the biggest thing that people like emphasize is like, you are telling stories, you are telling people stories. And the reality is, even if you look at anything on social media, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, we love those part series. We love keeping up with, what's happening next, etc. Because in a time where we're constantly consuming very fast-paced content, I think it is very refreshing when we get to sit down and listen something from beginning to end, which is very rare that we get to do now. And so to me, I also went into it knowing not only was that important to me, but more than anything, any project that I've gone into, I am fully aware, and I'm always remind myself, I am not the first or the last to do what I'm doing. I'm really not doing anything innovative. I really am not. I just have an idea and I put my own twist to it. And that is why the storytelling aspect is so important, because I had a lot of moments going into, not only, well, in Connected was a little bit different because at the time, 5 years ago, the whole social media and creating content wasn't as poppin'. So I felt like I was like, not that I invented it at all, because I think it was slowly happening, but I went into it during a time where it was very taboo, and they were like, there's no way we're going to open up a position and a whole salary for a social media like that was not a thing 5 years ago. So that was a very different experience. However, that also meant I had to prove myself more, and I had to prove, why is this service needed, and why is this something that you need to be looking for and investing in. So you had to work towards that, and that's part of the storytelling of whenever I would go into it and people were like, well, why would I hire you? And I would say, you're right. And the reason why you would hire me is because the approach that I go into this marketing with you, it's not just about taking a photo, but it's about understanding your story and telling your story to your audience. And that's where I come in. And then with Trece, it also makes sense for me to tell my story, tell my background, why I'm doing this, because the reality is there's a lot of boutiques. There's a lot of people that, sell products online. There's a lot of businesses that are at markets selling these things. So I had to not only find my why and also how I was going to make it different, but I was also going to explain, you know, my story on how did I get here today and why did I specifically choose this product? Why did I choose the name, etc. And the reason for that is because the reality is people don't just buy what you are selling, but why you're selling it, and your why is your story.
Oh yeah, and I'm also a journalism background, so I
Yeah.
hear you. And I was gonna say, I also think with your brand specifically, Trece, and I can only imagine too, you're evoking such a like your collection evokes feeling, and because you put a lot of emotion and storytelling and beautiful concepts behind it. But then also, I can imagine if I was someone who had never met you, and I'm at the market,
Yeah.
and I just stumble across your table, immediately there's an energy there,
Yeah.
there's a click, there's a
Yeah.
like she loves what she does, she loves
Yeah.
people, I want to buy from her for her too. And I
Yes.
think there's like such power in that too, so I'm sure it can be felt on the internet as well when you're creating like your storytelling and your voice online too, so I'm sure
Oh.
you've also like
Oh yeah. And actually in one of my last markets, one of my biggest compliments that I got, and it was very telling for me, is I had someone come up to me. I think they were in a booth in front of me, and they came up to me. He's like, I keep seeing you from across my booth, and I follow you, and I knew it was you because you literally have the same energy online as in person. I'm a very passionate person. I talk a lot with my head and my face and my hands and everything. Like, I'm very expressive. And I genuinely can tell you that there is literally not a thing that I do that I don't feel super passionate about, because it is, something extra that I have to do. We do have a lot, that especially as business owners, you take on a lot of roles. So taking on a whole other business and a whole other project on a whole different scale, you really have to be passionate about what you're doing, because it gets hard. And it gets so hard to the point that you question a lot of things too. And if you don't feel that passionate and that comfortable in the calling that you have and in your purpose and your why and your story, you tend to get lost in it. And so it's been really also fun for me to be able to invest in this side of a very different type of marketing. Going into retail is very, very different. Sitting there and brainstorming, how can I decorate my booth to make it look different, to make it look welcoming, to make people want to come in and look at my products, because I'm in the market with hundreds of vendors. Why would they come into my tent? Which can become very like philosophical if you think about it, of whenever you start asking yourself, why would someone pick me? Why would someone want to come talk to me? So that's been very, very interesting, and I love tapping into that as well too. It's really pushed me way out of my comfort zone and my what I thought was my creative abilities as well too.
no, that must be so rewarding too. Like you've literally have probably, like you said, pushed your own limits. And I see it. I think I see that magic. I see you
Yeah.
exuding that light and that passion that you have. I'm really curious on like an entrepreneurial level too. What is like, what percent, how do you like organize your life? How do you do your day in the life owning two businesses?
Yeah.
One of them is more digital heavy. The other one requires maybe for you to be more on site at a market, for
Yeah.
example. Like, what does your week or day look like?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, because I think everybody always wants to hear the answer of time block your day, and from this time to this time I'm doing this, and no. I'm gonna tell you right now, no. As much as we want that, it's very hard to maintain that. And the reason for that is because we are still working with people. We're working with people's schedules, and you just kind of have to find your own flow. The great thing with what we do is that we get to have flexibility in our schedule to just do things as we need to. Right now, I because I do have my products inside of a boutique as well too, and I do dedicate like a day to be there. And so that allows me, basically, I mean, I guess if I really had to, is I do block off at least a day, core like Trece, and right now the majority of my week is still my marketing business because that's like obviously like my main business right now. But it doesn't, the markets are on weekends. So, I had a market on Sunday and then a shoot on Monday, and you just honestly, as I think any entrepreneur or anybody that's self-employed understands, the reality is you just find your moments for yourself. Getting out of the mentality of my Saturday and Sunday, don't touch my Saturday and Sunday, because that was ingrained in us with corporate. And I actually had to sit down and talk to myself, well, why am I only giving myself Saturday and Sunday, actually, though? Because that doesn't seem like enough time for me to get my life together, So getting out of that mentality of I only have 2 days to have fun and to do whatever I want to do, it seems so unrealistic for me. So I mean, honestly, I just kind of have been going with the flow right now. I am very organized though. Like everything is on my calendar. Like there's an apartment maintenance thing, it's on my calendar. Anything's on my calendar. A call, a dinner, everything's on my calendar. So that's honestly the main thing. I think anything is possible. You just have to be very organized and intentional also now with your time as well too. Like what is worth you going in person versus let's just talk online, kind of things like that. But I think I'll find that maybe by the end of the year, I'll have a very different answer.
Maybe. And I do think the answer changes naturally.
Yeah, of course.
Day by day, even.
Oh yeah, of course. Because, the more you take on, you just, something's going to give at some point. And so you can't do it all. And that is a conversation that I've already thought about. It's like, oh my God, I want to do this market, but I also have something planned already. What do I do in that moment? Do I hire someone? But then also no one's going to understand my brand the way that I understand my brand. And no one's going to be able to tell them that this was made in, Mexico. And no one's going to tell them, So I'm at that point right now where I just still want to do it all. I'm very hands-on, even with my marketing business. And it doesn't even help also that my clients are like that as well too, that they're like, no, I'll just wait until you're available. Yeah. So, which I personally love. I think whenever I started my business, anybody's first immediate thought is, okay, so at one point you want to have a big office and lots of employees, right? And I'm like, no, I don't actually. I love what I do because I get to still talk to people. I get to still feel people. I get to still be in that connection with them. And I don't know if I would have that if I get to pass things on. And I'm happy where I'm at. I don't think I really need that, to feel satisfied. I feel very satisfied already. And if anything, I just get to tap into other things as well too.
Yeah, no, that's really beautiful to hear, especially as someone who's also self-employed. I just love to hear your perspective too, because I'm in a point where I'm kind of drowning, and I could say let me hire some help, but at the end of the day, there is nothing more fulfilling and gratifying than really sitting down with the brands and people that you work with one-on-one who also want to work with you for you. And I know I can bring a lot of creative magic. I think for me, it's just about doing a lot of intentional rest, and then I can come back and pick up back where I left off. So I appreciate you sharing that perspective, because sometimes I can you can have narrow. A narrow vision when you're a business owner, and you kind of get lost in it. So there's good and bad days.
I mean, I do think though it is important to take note of what are the things that you don't enjoy in your routine, and not only that you not enjoy, but that you're not good at. And that's something that a lot of people, because of our egos, we don't want to sit down and ask ourselves, what am I not good at? But I think it is very important. And I think we've actually even had that conversation before too, that I knew right off the bat, I do not want to deal with anything with my bookkeeping and my taxes and administrative. I just want to be creative. Right. Yeah. And that was one of the things that I decided, that's going to be the one thing that I'm going to invest in. And I will hire someone to help me with that, because one, I don't enjoy it. And two, I'm not good at that. That is not my thing. And you also can ask yourself, the time that I'm spending doing this task that I'm not good at and that I don't enjoy, what could I be doing with this time? What project could I be working on and just handing this off to someone?
Oh yeah. I appreciate that perspective too, because I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant that they take care of. So I hear
We just
you.
want to create.
Yeah, no, literally, just let me have like my brain, a poster board, a computer, and I can create all day. But okay,
Yeah.
I wanted to wrap this up with one last question.
Yeah.
What she said, of course, you know that we are the queens of referrals. Who or what business have you been loving lately that you want to refer to your bestie? That you would refer to all your besties now, who watch this or who are going to watch this later.
Oh my gosh, I have so many amazing businesses because I have so many clients, and I've seen so many markets. I'm trying to see. Well, maybe they can go check it out because I think this would be the best option. But so I'm part of a boutique here in Houston in Rice Village that's called The Hive, and we are 12 small and woman-owned businesses in one boutique. And I'm one of them in there. So I think I would want people to go check them out. I think it's amazing the concept that they have, the platform that they've been giving a lot of small and woman-owned businesses in Houston to have a brick and mortar, which is it's like a dream for a lot of people to be able to have your products in person. So I would love to give them a shout out because they are also women owned and they provide their platform to support other small and woman owned businesses in our area.
I love that. Thank you so much, Ilse. This is such a good call.
Yes.
Every time I get on a call with you, I'm like glowing after.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored. I love these conversations. I feel like they're so needed because we do see a lot of successes. We do see a lot of accomplishments on social media. And a lot of the times we don't get to share what it took to get there. And we don't share the reality of our day to day. So I think it's so refreshing. And I commend you guys for making time to highlight, brands and businesses and share the journey and the story of being, an entrepreneur and a creative. So thank you so much.
Of course, that's my mission in life. Journalism
Yes.
background, storytelling. We're gonna continue doing this
Yay.
till the day we die.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And I'm happy to be back. Anything, I love to share everything that I know. So I really appreciate the
Yes,
platform.
yes, there will definitely be more of you. We'll have to have you back. All right, take
Thank
care. Big hug.
you. Bye.